Brexit Britain is in a stronger position to fight threats from China than it would have been if it remained in the European Union, as tensions between Beijing and the West continue to escalate. Brexit will allow the UK to have greater liberties when it comes to its relations with China as the EU remains divided on how and whether to combat Beijing's threats against the West, claimed Professor Adrain Papst, Deputy Director of the National Institute of Economics and Social Research. Speaking to Express.co.uk, the political scientist admitted it is difficult to say whether a future Brexit deal with the EU or a free trade deal with the US will materialise in the next few months and how they will help the UK thrive economically. But he argued being out of the European Union will undoubtedly allow Britain to make its own decisions on China more freely and decide with the US when necessary. He said, "I think there's a certain trade-off here, it's true. The UK has now greater liberty to decide in relation to the 27. However, it's also the case that the UK is as a result more dependent on the US politically and economically. So in that sense, you may be trading one form of dependency on the EU in the past for another one." Again, it's very, very early days. Because there isn't yet a deal with the EU for what comes after the transition period. So we'll have to wait and see what sort of deal, if any, emerges in the next few weeks and months. There isn't yet a comprehensive free trade deal with the US. So we don't yet know what the concrete benefits of Brexit in that respect will be. But yeah, essentially, the UK is moving closer to the US and a little bit further away from the EU. In political terms, and perhaps economically in future as well, though, the EU being on the doorstep, it will always remain an important trading partner. And yes, the US is crucially important, but we also know that both politically and economically it is quite a different system. And of course, we don't know what will happen. I mean, for the moment, the US takes a very hawkish approach to China. We don't know what might happen in case Donald Trump is not re-elected, and what a President Biden might or might not do vis-a-vis China. So the politics are very much in flux and everywhere, including in the US. The EU is itself divided over China. Some countries have very close relations with China, economic and political, like Germany and Italy. Other countries, including France, are keen to take a tougher approach with Beijing.